Welcome back to the Ultimate Mixdown. I hope you had a happy and healthy new year, but now it's time to get back to work. Typically at the end of the year, we like to set goals for the upcoming year. What tends to happen is a lot of people have these overambitious goals, and in week 2 or month 2, they realize they're not seeing the progress that they had expected. If this isn't your primary income yet, it's very easy to watch it fall by the wayside because you have other responsibilities, job, family, all these things that will constantly pull at you and try to take your attention away from making music. In this video, I'm going to give you 5 ways that you can make significantly more music this year than you did last year, so that by the end of December, you can look back at what you had accomplished this year and check all the boxes and set yourself up for even more music next year. Let's dive right into the video. All right, so we're not wasting any time. It's a brand new year. Let's jump right into it. So tip number 1 for making more music this year, and I'm sure you've heard this elsewhere, and I'm sure you're going to hear it a million times more, but the tip is start today. Don't think about tomorrow, just start today. It doesn't matter what you do. You can open your DAW and you can literally record one note on the keyboard, and that could be just enough to spark inspiration for you to create an entire song. Now the problem is a lot of people like to get in their heads and overthink it, and they sit down and they say, well, if I want to record an entire song, that's going to take me days, and I don't have days to do that right now, so I'm going to push it off to the future. And those types of thoughts get in your head, and they stop you from even opening the DAW in the first place. But is there not 10, 15 minutes where you can open a DAW and start playing around with the piano, just hit the record button, and start making some music that you're tracking down? Now, the biggest thing you want to take away from this is creating something tangible. It's nice to open a DAW and play around, but if you're not recording anything down, it's not essentially working you closer towards your goals. So don't get stuck in your own head. 5 minutes is a significant amount of time, especially when you're comparing it to 0. Anything compared to 0 is exponentially greater when it comes to writing music and recording it. Now, the second tip for making more music this year, and this is one that I constantly have to remind myself, and if you take anything away from this video, take this tip. You need to focus on what you're trying to achieve in the session that you're working in. You've heard the term business versus pleasure. Are you there on a business trip where you're essentially trying to make deals and make money? Or are you there for pleasure where you're doing sightseeing, going to shows, enjoying the time with your family or friends? Now, there's a significant difference. With business, you have an outcome that you're trying to achieve. You have a goal. With pleasure, the goal is simply to enjoy yourself. Now, this happens so much for so many of us where we go into the DAW, we open up sessions that we created in the past, and we start going through those and playing through those. And we get into an endless loop of listening to the stuff that we've created in the past, and it makes us feel good because it's like we've accomplished something. All these things have different types of potential, but at the end of the day, when you close your session, you're going to have nothing to move forward with the next day. So the biggest thing you need to focus on is when you open that Reaper session or you open that Pro Tools session and you look at your DAW and you start pulling up instruments, are you willing to work to write something that you're going to record in a tangible format? If that's not your goal, if your goal is just to play around, then you need to tell yourself, this is pleasure. Now, this isn't to say that business can't be fun, but if you're trying to really make more music and get it out into the world, then you have to do some of the less fun things. I'm talking about having a structure where you force yourself to record new songs and work on songs. You might have the guitars laid down for a song and you need to edit them. It's so much more fun to work on another guitar part for another song than it is to edit the guitars for the existing song that you have. You need to set actionable goals where you constantly work through each step of the process for the song that you're currently working on until it's finished. Tip number 1 was start today. Tip number 2 is focus with the ending in mind. Tip number 3 is extremely useful, and it's a very minimalistic perspective, and that's use what you have. You might have heard this before because especially in today's day and age for the home producer, home songwriter, home recorder, you can get a lot of great sounding music with very minimal gear and very minimal plugins. I'll use my Focusrite 2i2 because I only need 2 inputs to record into, and that device is a couple $100 maximum. And I have a decent pair of headphones that cost me $100, $150. I have a cheap, great, reliable mic. That's the SM58. Then it comes to the software, and Reaper is free to try for 2 months, and then you can pay for the $60 license after that. Reaper comes with a bunch of stock plugins, but then you can also use free third-party plugins, and we'll talk more about that on the channel. So you can do certain mixing elements to it, you can add certain effects and all of that. So none of this stuff should be bogging you down. A lot of singer-songwriters play the guitar and they sing, or maybe they play piano and they sing. If those are the only instruments that you play, write songs just like that, right? Write just the piano and just the vocals and record it down. Record it, play all the parts, sing all the vocal lines, mix it, and create a full song. You can release an acoustic album. Nobody said that you needed to have all the instruments in the world. Honestly, a great song doesn't need to have more than one instrument. And you can YouTube this or Google this, but there are many folks that create timeless songs with just one guitar or just one vocal line or just a drum beat and some type of melody on top of it. So a song doesn't need to be this full-fledged 50-person ensemble. A good song will shine itself amongst the sea of all the music that you're competing with for people's attention. So don't be afraid to just record the guitar and the vocals. If I don't have the time to do all of the instruments, I'll focus on the vocals, focus on the instrument that I can play best along with those vocals. I'll record that, I'll edit it, mix it, do a little bit of mastering on it, and I'll upload it. And that got out there into the world instead of me holding on to it and saying, well, I'm going to wait until I find the time to record the bass and the drums. If you keep playing the waiting game, you're always going to be waiting to put out your music. So please take what you have and make beautiful music and put it out into the world. Now, tip number 4 is similar to using what you have. It's keeping it simple and then expanding. One thing the human mind likes to do is take everything that we're trying to work on and make it the most complex thing in the world. It doesn't matter what it is. If you keep thinking about something too much, you make it a mountain instead of a molehill in your mind, and you're constantly going to find your mind is naturally going towards the direction of comfort. If you don't keep things simple, your mind is constantly going to tell you why you shouldn't do it. And it's extremely tough to work in that environment. So by keeping it simple, I mean, like we talked about in the last example, if you're a guitarist and a vocalist or a pianist and a vocalist, maybe just writing a song where you just have those elements in it. And then you can expand. If you find that you have enough time to record other instruments on top or reach out to somebody else to record those instruments, then you can move forward with that and record those parts on top. Or maybe you get the song out today with your acoustic guitar and your vocals. It's an acoustic rendition. Put it out there. Get feedback, get engagement, get excited, and then you decide, hey, I think I have time. I could actually put the electric guitar, the drums, the bass, and have this be a full ensemble. Get that out into the world. Now you have 2 versions, and this is twofold. 1, you got your music out sooner. You got initial engagement. 2, now you've got another version of it where you're going to get new reactions from other people on different social media platforms or wherever you're releasing it. But you're also going to get the people that saw the acoustic version and say, hey, this is an amazing version that you decided to make on this. I really like what you've done with it. And if you're in the business of putting your music out for royalties, for songwriting and stuff like that, they always ask for different types of recordings. They'll ask for the acoustic guitar with the vocals. They'll ask for the acoustic guitar without the vocals. They'll ask for just the beat. If you have more than just an acoustic guitar, they'll ask for just the instruments. And they might even ask you for things at different speeds. If you're pitching things for TV or you're pitching things for commercial and stuff like that, you could have 10 different renditions of this song. And that's because you started with something simple, completed it and got it out there, but then you built upon that and you created all these other versions that now you can use at your disposal. So start simple, then expand. Now, tip number 5, this is one I had alluded to a little bit earlier, but this is working with other artists or working with other professionals. As a musician, especially if you're a solo musician, you're basically writing all the parts, learning all the parts, practicing all the parts, recording all the parts, and you're your own engineer, your own mixer, your own masterer. And then if you want to put it up on social, then you either need to find a way that you can put it out there and market it, whether you put a lyric video out or some type of music video. So maybe you're recording a live video of you doing it, or you're recording a music video officially. Whatever the case is, all of these efforts take a significant amount of time, and the best way to free up your time to to make more music is to find other people to help you with the stuff that you don't want to do or that you're not an expert in. So that comes down to finding other people to record your music video, make your lyric video, or working on other instruments for your song. So maybe you can play bass, but maybe you know somebody that plays bass really well and they could slap a bass line on it in a matter of minutes, right? And they could record the track, send it across, and you can start mixing it into your music. Drums are typically a thing that a lot of folks have trouble with. It's very tough if you're not a drummer to implement drums, except for maybe through some software version of something like Drumica or Easy Drummer, which we have a video for on this channel. You could reach out to a drummer that has access to a studio who could record the drums and send you those tracks. And then you can implement it into your song. The best way to free up time is through working with others and achieving a greater goal together than you would have by yourself. And this is good across the board, especially if you find ways to make agreements where you have something to offer, they have something to offer, and you're creating some type of music that you're both happy with. You both get it out into the world, and it's a win-win situation. We've already gone through the 5 tips that I wanted to discuss, but I do have one more, and oftentimes this is about personal development or business, and the idea is creating SMART goals. So I mentioned this at the beginning of the video, but when you're planning out a new year, you want to create goals that you can actually achieve, that make sense, that don't overwhelm you as you're trying to work towards them throughout the year. So SMART goals are specific, okay? So you need to actually have the specifics of what the goal are. If you don't know what the goal is, you can't work towards it. That's as simple as that. So if you can make the goal as specific as possible in what you're looking to achieve, this could be number of songs, the length of those songs, everything from the instruments in those songs. Because if you tell yourself, well, I'm going to make 50 songs this year, and that's my goal, that's not a very realistic, achievable goal that you're going to be happy with. But if you're going to say, well, I'm going to write 10 songs in this genre, have it be a single album that I'm going to release on Spotify, YouTube, other types of social media and music platforms. And I'm also going to pitch some of this music to TV because I think it fits really well in this genre. Now you're starting to make more specific goals. Now the second thing is measurable. So with SMART goals, you want to have something that's quantifiable that you can actually measure as you're progressing. So if your goal was 10 songs on an album, let's say you hit song number 2 in month number 2, then you're relatively on track to hit the 10th song by the end of the year. So always use data when it comes to setting your goals so that you have something to stack up against and make sure that you're staying on track, but also at the end of the year, looking back and saying, I accomplished my goals. I did X, Y, and Z and hit these 10 data points that basically make up the measurements for my goal. Now, the A in SMART goals is for achievable. This is going to take a lot of digging and looking in on ourselves and really understanding where we're currently at and what the capacity that we have is so that we can actually achieve our goals. If you come out of the gate and you say, I'm going to write 1,000 songs this year, that may work if you have somebody that, if you don't have a family and somebody that's supporting your lifestyle and you're not working a full-time job, then sure, free reign, you might be able to create 1,000 songs this year. But for many people that have a family, that have a job that they have to focus on, that have other responsibilities, you really need to look at, how much time you've spent working on writing songs and recording songs and taking that data and then looking at, based on that amount of time, this is the capacity that I have per week, per month, per year. And this is a realistic and achievable goal that I can have for this year. And another thing that this does is if you don't set achievable goals, you're going to disappoint yourself. It doesn't matter what it is. By the end of the year, when you don't achieve your goals because they weren't achievable to begin with, you're going to get down on yourself. You're going to look at yourself. You're not going to realize why you couldn't achieve all of it. But then maybe it comes to mind, well, I didn't have the capacity to do this. I did X, Y, and Z instead of, writing those 1,000 songs. I only got 10 out instead of 1,000. This is why you want to start from the beginning and making sure that you set those goals as achievable right out of the gate so that you're not looking back in frustration. You're actually looking back in accomplishment for what you've done. Now, the R stands for relevant. So if you're setting goals that aren't relevant to what you're trying to do with your music, then those goals are not going to make you happy. You're not going to have the results that you're looking for. And if you hit them, it's good. You can pat yourself on the back, but it doesn't progress you any further in your music making. It doesn't progress you any further as an artist. Okay, so you need to make sure that the goal that you're setting is in alignment with where you want to be 1 year, 3 years, 5 years from now. So take a look at the future you 5 years from now, and what did you need to accomplish to get there? And then the last letter, T for SMART, is time bound. So what is the time frame for accomplishing this goal? How long is it going to take? And then you can even break that down, right? If your goal is 10 songs on an album, then what's your time frame for one song? Right? What's your time frame for mixing the album, for mastering the album? The more specificity that you can put into the actual goal itself, as well as how you're going to achieve it and the time frame in which it's going to be achieved at each stage of the goal, the more likely you're going to hit that goal. So please focus on that. So the 5 criteria for SMART: SMART, S for specific, M for measurable, A for achievable, R for relevant, and T for time bound. Now, I hope this video really helped you out. We went over the 5 tips that'll help you make more music in this year and in years to come. And then we also went over the SMART goals so that we could have specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound goals where we're setting ourselves up for success right at the beginning of the year. And in December, when we look back, we can check off all the boxes and say that we hit on all our goals for making music this year. If you found this video useful, please hit the like button. Be sure to subscribe if you haven't already. Share the video with your friends and family if it'll help them out. And as always, thank you for joining the Ultimate Mixdown. I can't wait to see you in the next video.